In today's video, let's do some old school applied ghetto engineering and hot blue some parts. This is cheap, it's easy, it prevents rust, and you can do it in applications where paint is just not gonna work. And in my view, the results really do speak for themselves. That is a pretty sweet, durable, corrosion protective finish. But like all this applied engineering guff, there's a catch, okay? And you really wouldn't want to ignore it. As simple as this process is to do and as elegant as the result can be, you'd want to try it only on the right parts, because if you have a crack on the wrong parts, you're just setting yourself up for extreme disappointment. And of course, that's the catch, which we'll get to right at the end. But if you want to have a crack, what you're going to need, obviously, is the right tools and equipment. To do this, all you're going to need is a blowtorch, some parts that you want to protect, obviously, plus some form of oil. Personally, I like unboiled linseed oil for this because it smells a lot less like Anthony Albanese's cologne. Sweet embrace of death. But if you want that, old motor oil is the go there. But any oil's going to work, okay? Canola's not bad if you like the old school fish and chip shop vibe. And in lieu of owning a pair of blacksmith's tongs, get yourself some cheap, long-handled needle nose pliers. They work a treat. Always such a fundamentally neat idea to keep your hands as far away as possible from the blast radius. Now, if you were going to do this in industry, they would organise a proper sort of insulated environment, like a kiln-like environment for doing this kind of work, if possible. And obviously we can't do that here. It's not practical to do that in our sheds and set up a whole kiln unless you're going to do this on a large scale. But you can use some of the principles. And I'd argue that most people who pick up a blowtorch only think about the dramatic part, which is easy to think about because it's pumping heat into the part. But there's actually two sides to the heating something up coin. There's the heat going in and the heat being lost to the environment. And obviously that's like your bank account, money going in, money coming out. If money going in is bigger than money coming out, 2 thumbs up, your bank account gets hotter. Same with this, right? So we want to minimize heat loss. So instead of getting a bunch of proper refractory bricks, I've just got these 6 conventional bricks there. Don't use wet ones because they might explode when the water inside them starts to boil and build up pressure in the brick. Don't do that. These are nice and dry. They've been in the sun endlessly in a Australian summer, so pretty dry, I'd have to say. And the function of these is just to trap heat that would otherwise blow past, and also mainly insulate the part from the steel table underneath, because if I tried to heat it up on that, it would just suck heat away, whereas if I put the part in here and heat it up in there, there's a lot of heat being reflected into it because the inside of a corner reflects whatever straight back. This is why road signs fluoresce, because they've got crystals in the paint like that. And it's how we can measure the distance between Earth and the Moon every day, because the Apollo astronauts put a corner cube reflecting mirror up there. And they fire a laser there every day and just measure the distance for shits and giggles. So why not use the same principle to get the job done quicker and use less gas, costing you less money? So that's essentially the rationale behind doing it in this environment. Basically, we're just going to heat the parts up until they go through all of the oxide colours and get to a deep grey, which you could ballpark at about 350 degrees C. Then we're going to dunk them in oil, wipe off, and repeat the process until we build up a suitably robust coating of polymerized oil on top of the oxide colour. It's a pretty simple process. There is absolutely no need to get the part red hot before you dunk it into your tin of repurposed chopped tomatoes or whatever. That's overkill. It's going to damage the finish. It's going to be too energetically hot when it gets into the oil. There will be a big plume of smoke coming off the top, which is actually flammable vapor just looking for a source of ignition, and the surface finish is going to suck compared to just moderate heat. So for all these reasons, don't do that. Just get it to grey, 350 degrees, into the oil. And pro tip, do not stick your beak right over the top, despite how interesting it is to watch the first couple of times you do it. Make sure you're at a safe distance and off to the side, because occasionally this kind of thing catches fire and you don't want your head in the plume when that happens. B, it's also probably bad to breathe the vapour, even on these quote-unquote natural oils like linseed and canola, but especially if you're using repurposed motor oil. You'll note that I am wearing a welding jacket, gloves, a face shield and a welding cap, and there's a fire extinguisher next to the bench just out of shot, and another one a few metres away on the stairs, plus a hose that is connected to a tap 6 metres away, and a fan for blowing the fumes away from me. And I scanned the bench top and surrounding environment for anything flammable and explosion hazards, such as pressure-packed cans, before I lit anything up, which obviously is complete OH&S overkill. Call me unnecessarily old-timey on all of this stuff if you must, but to me, the only thing worse than complete OH&S overkill is darkening the door of the nearby emergency department with third-degree burns to your frickin' head, face, upper arms and crotch. Nobody I know wants that. The emergency docs are already pretty good at what they do here in Australia. They certainly don't need your help getting any better. And the only thing worse than being in that position, needing that assistance, being in that agony, is the way they're going to look at you, because they know how easily this kind of thing could be prevented. Basically, you just rinse and repeat this smoky heating and oil dunking process, preferably refraining from lighting the whole joint on fire, until you get the surface finish you want. And you can knock it back a little with Scotch-Brite if things get a bit too splotchy on the way through. A couple of practical applications now. Thumb screws on jigs and machine tools are a classic for this, because they don't need high tensile fastener performance, and paint is just not going to work all that well on them. For smaller parts, you can use something like this Hot Devil Professional Butane blowtorch. Butane, of course, doesn't burn as hot as propane or MAP gas, but the flame temperature is still roughly 1350 degrees C, so getting smaller parts to 350 is definitely doable, and it's not gonna take all day. Just remember that if you are using butane for a job such as this, on a cold day, like below 5 degrees C and certainly below freezing, you'll be flogging, if not a dead horse, at least a horse that is quite reluctant to get out of the gate. See, butane boils at -0.5 degrees C, so when it's cold, it's quite reluctant to jump out of its container, in which case I'd be switching to MAP gas, which has the advantage of boiling at like -47 degrees at 1 atmosphere, so it's always ready to escape from the bottle, and the flame temperature is much higher as well, which means it's going to get the job done just so much faster. Ordinary low tensile bolts are a walk-up start for this hot blue process as well. You just knock the loose corrosion off with a wire brush and go for it. Don't obsess about the surface finish. The end result's going to look great for industro grunge projects like shop furniture or anything you build to go camping with, especially if you use cup head bolts, which blend right in on top of mill scale, and they're gonna look old school, like fake rivets or something. The next hot oil candidate here is this antique filing vise. It's a somewhat more ambitious project because of the greater thermal mass. Paint's not going to work pretty clearly, so I'm going to do the lead screw and the wing nut conventionally, and then I'm going to use a rag in a set of vice grips, like a brush kind of, to dab the oil on. So all I'm doing here is taking the oil to the hot part instead of taking the job for a swim in oil after brief sessions with Satan. If only wife number 6 were out for the arvo, I could ditch the dab on option, duck upstairs, grab a saucepan, use it, whip back up, run it through the dishwasher. When she gets back, I could say the immortal words, "Honey, I just thought I'd clean the kitchen for you upon your return, because I know you like the place looking spick and span. Look like a frickin' hero, who knows what might flow from that. But as things stand, if I sneak up there and do that, too risky. If I get caught, it's going to cost me a new saucepan. At least, probably a frickin' handbag as well. Louis Vuitton, minimum. And when I look at the opportunity cost of all of that, rolled up rag in a set of vice grips is looking good." In the case of the Vice body, this Trade Map Swirl Flame torch from Hot Devil is kind of awesome because Trade Map burns about 500 degrees hotter than butane, and this gets the job done super quick. Like, it's an advertisement for heat transfer, and my ghetto refractory corner cube thingo here made of bricks is radiating a lot of retained heat also at this point. So you can see the end result for yourself. It does the job quickly. And then when everything cools down, you just spray it with your favourite rust preventative lubricant as a barrier and to really bring out the finish. CRC Long Life is the go in this case for me. If you'd like to have a crack at hot oil bluing in your fat cave and the thing holding you back is you don't have a blowtorch, I've done a deal with Auto One and Hot Devil where you can get 25% off a selection of Hot Devil's blowtorch range. And these two torches are part of that offer. Obviously, it's a case of horses for courses. The butane torch is just fine if your aspirations extend only to smaller parts up to about that big, like thumb screws and things of that nature. Butane's fine for this kind of thing. If you've got loftier aspirations for chunkier parts with more thermal mass, such as this, then your blowtorch of choice is going to be Trade Map all day long. This offer is for a limited time only, however, and I'll have full details in the description. The catch I mentioned at the outset is that as good as this process is and as sexy as the finish can be, you should not use it on anything that has been heat treated, because if you do, heating the part up like that to blue it is going to damage the heat treatment, and then whatever you've treated is not going to function as well as it previously did. That means things like cold chisels, Allen keys, screwdrivers, rusty pliers, whatever, these things are not going to be the same again if you hot blue them in oil. So don't do that. And high tensile fasteners as well, even though they come out of the factory kind of blued like this, if you do that to a fastener such as this, it'll still be a fastener, of course. It just won't function like a high tensile one anymore. In the case of those heat-treated components, use this stuff instead, Birchwood Casey Cold Blue. It's not going to affect the heat treatment, but it can be a bit temperamental to apply at times if you don't get the surface preparation just right. However, on low-carbon steel parts, just go for it with the torch and the oil. It's also quite okay for medium and high-carbon steel parts, provided you can live with their performance in the annealed state. That's what this process today is really for. I get it, dude. Not everyone speaks fluent Ferris Bueller's metallurgy, but all I'm essentially saying here is that anything with a durable point or a cutting edge or hardened jaws or some sort of high tensile character to its underlying demeanour, don't do it. Step away from the torch and use another method if you want to blue it, because if you combine heat with parts such as this, it always ends badly for the part. For the right parts, such as these, I think the results speak for themselves. The coating doesn't just look great, it traps oil, which keeps moisture and atmospheric oxygen at bay, reducing corrosion, and it's easy to redo if it gets worn. Hot bluing with oil is a kind of old school trick that you should know because it works just as well today as it did back when there was a blacksmith shop on every street corner.